Welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast. I am your host, Joe Zakreski, joined by Eddie Cayazzo. Hi, Ed. How are you?
Shh. Be very quiet. Okay, I'm good, Joe. How are you?
Well, I got to tell you this, it's episode number 44. How about that? Getting close to that 1 year mark.
Yikes.
Something that started when the world was a little different than it is today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pretty cool coming up on that. Well, we got 8 more to go. 8 more to go.
Yeah, I think 8 more episodes till that magic number of 52. 1 year.
Oh, boy. And just before we get a little bit quiet about things, we'll tell you that you can go on to KeystoneRetro.com and use code Red River for 10% off your order. That is KeystoneRetro.com. Code Red River.
Red River.
10% off. What a wonderful deal. It's a great thing. Yeah. So, any hoots, speaking of quiet things, we are going to be discussing, A Quiet Place 2
Yep.
is coming out soon. Is it this weekend?
It's coming out.
Is it the weekend after this will air? I don't know.
This episode will drop on Thursday, so actually you can start seeing A Quiet Place Part 2 in theaters on Thursday. So today.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And originally we were talking about maybe doing something similar with what we did with how we did the Spiral episode, which we watched the movie and then immediately did a pod about it. So it was fresh on the mind.
Yeah.
We talked about doing that with A Quiet Place 2, to which I replied, I don't even think I want to see it.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So did you like the first Quiet Place?
The first Quiet Place disappointed me by the time I saw it.
Okay. What brought you down on A Quiet Place?
I guess that with a movie that was so careful and so, I would say, well done as far as the like putting us in that world, making sure that everybody's quiet, and the fact that the aliens were so vicious, abrupt, and loud. It was the fact that we saw them so much. I thought that took away from the main story, just the alien interactions when they happened.
Yeah, so basically, like, what bothers some people with, like, some alien movies where you don't see them enough, this one you think you see them too much.
I do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like that too. I do like that. But, for me, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. Some of it just felt a little inconsistent with what noises you could and couldn't make.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, which, whatever.
Yeah, well, so...
It's fine. Like, a lot of it was for the purpose of suspense, so it's like, I can't knock it for that. I just looked... I was really enjoying the movie, and then the ending I found to be very underwhelming.
The ending was another detractor for me. So seeing the aliens too much and, the end of the film. Right.
So basically, I enjoyed everything leading up until, like, probably about the last 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And even with how it ended, it's like I just don't see, I think the sequel is just going to be a cash grab and be weak and not have much of a good story to it. And just, like, it'll have, like, the nice cinematography and all that, but it looks like from the trailer, it's a mix of prequel and sequel.
Right. So wait.
But, like, the shtick is kind of done. So it's like, where do you really... It's just going to be her finding more people and interacting with them, maybe even finding, like, a safe colony.
Yeah, do you think... I don't know how much they're giving away in the trailer, which I appreciate, actually.
Absolutely.
In a Quiet Place Part 2, I don't know how much they're giving away, but what I'm thinking is that this will be now you experiencing more of the people that are left in that world.
Right.
Like which you said, like the colony. Like, I think that we're going to see now these characters in a way, I don't watch the show, but like The Walking Dead was so effective because not only does it suck that there are a lot of dead people running around trying to kill you, but when you encounter other people that aren't the undead, they're pretty crappy.
And, more, if not, possibly more dangerous than the dead themselves, which is pretty typical for most post-apocalyptic movies, which is one of the things that I liked about A Quiet Place at first, is that it wasn't that. And now it's like, all right, well, we didn't do that the first time, so we can do it this time.
Right.
And like, I think the only, after it's introduced, I think the only thing we really saw was just that one guy in the woods who's just about giving up and just, gives up and screams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
think of this episode. Think of this episode as, it's not like a, what is it? Would you rather?
Yeah. Not a would you rather. It's like, would you even want to?
Yeah. So this film, A Quiet Place Part 2, is being released in theaters, and they're making a big deal about it. And because of the sounds and what has to happen for the film to be effective, probably the theater experience is what you're going to want.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the first one in theaters. I don't think I was like, did I see it did I watch? I think I watched some of it on TV one time.
Well,
but like, again, like, I don't know. Some of the things where I was just like, man, I mean, they lay down all that sand.
Yeah.
And, then they're just out walking in the woods, and they're fine.
Yeah.
But
wonderfully acted.
Yeah.
Yeah. The actors were all great.
Well, they have a good chemistry because they're married. So that, probably helps towards their emotions towards each other, makes that an easy one.
John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, right?
Yeah.
They're the married couple.
Yeah. And there's even a story, he was in an interview where he talked about when they went to, like they were flying into Heathrow. It was his first time going to England with her, and airport security moved him away because they didn't know who he was, because he's more known in the States.
right
than over there. They're like, all right, buddy, back off.
Before his action movie debuts, like he's become a pretty big all-around actor, but I guess this just would have been Office time.
Probably a little, probably still in The Office, maybe right after The Office. But yeah, I mean, good for him, because that's an iconic character. How do you shake off Jim? Even when the first Quiet Place came out, there's a great video where they did a cut where instead of the alien, they put in Dwight from The Office. That was really good. Called it a Dwight Place. It's nice, but he's killing it. I mean, if I would say Jack Ryan is probably my favorite thing that he's doing.
I think that's the Amazon series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Based off the Tom Clancy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was his guy. Because I used to read Tom Clancy a lot.
Yeah. When we watched, what was the one with Ben Affleck that we watched together years and years ago when we were kids, and he was Jack Ryan in that.
Oh.
Sum of All Fears?
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if anybody out there, if you want to correct me, you can tell me what it was, but it really doesn't matter.
No, but so the shtick is with Quiet Place Part 2 is it is being released in theaters. It's meant to be experienced in the theaters. Yeah. So Joe and I are posing the question to each other, would you see it in theaters? Because, it's not... Well, I guess I should start with this. You've expressed on this podcast that you are more than happy to just pay the $20 and view new releases at home.
Yeah, I mean, look at where we're sitting right now. About 10 feet from here is a 70-inch TV and sound bar, all the bells and whistles. So that's to me, that's just as good.
So you have to take that into account. That model was successful for the movie studios. That was a very successful model for.
Oh yeah.
What was it? Universal, I think, was like, whoa, with that Trolls movie. I was like, oh, we can do this. We can make a lot of money doing this.
Yeah, I think Disney's probably doing it. I mean, Universal's with Warner Brothers is HBO, right?
With HBO, yep.
And then what did they do Trolls on? Was that on Prime? Is that who they linked up with for it, or?
I think you could just spend $20 on wherever.
Oh yeah,
and just watch it. So
but this was something that was like years in the making, as like DVR boxes and other on-demand services. It's studios that were fighting it, and then obviously pandemic has changed, forced their hand.
Sure.
Whereas there are still some, which is why Spiral was not released to any kind of streaming service. There's some that are holding out. But it seems like Warner Brothers might keep that up because it will keep subscriptions on HBO Max.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wins from the HBO Warner Brothers
Yeah.
partnership
Yeah.
with the films, at least.
And Disney will probably do the same thing where it's like, you can buy it for, I mean, if you wanted to see their latest release, I think it's like $40.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus or just in general? Just
Disney Plus.
Oh.
And probably on Comcast too.
I mean, believe me, Disney knows how to monetize. They can monetize anything. I think that's why George Lucas ultimately sold.
Yeah. Well, their calculation is like how much would it cost to take the family to the movies, and $40 is still less than it would be to take a family of 4 to the movies.
So, having said all that, A Quiet Place Part 2 will start in the theater where it's meant to be experienced. So now, are you going to fork over $15 to go see it? Joe?
I really don't want to.
Okay.
And you were saying that you did, just to give it a chance?
I did. I think it's partly because I'm excited that movie theaters are open again, and I enjoy the theater experience, and you know better than anybody, I'm willing to take a chance on something that could be a bad movie. Like, this is a guy, is third person. I'm someone who saw Rings in the theaters.
Oh, gosh.
That was a pretty not good movie.
Still better than The Ring 2.
It was better than The Ring 2.
Everything's better than The Ring 2.
But I was just so, it was out. It was its first Friday. I'm like, you know what? I want to see it just so I get excited. So I think for me, the reason I want to see Quiet Place Part 2 in the theaters is because they're open. So I think it's part emotion and the other part is the curiosity. So it's like, okay, so now how are we going to do this? John Krasinski is back in it.
Kinda.
Right.
He's definitely only in some like prequel parts, but he's not in the trailer gives that away that he's not around.
Right.
So I don't know if he dies, which is probably, or if he went somewhere and she's trying to find him. I don't know. So
I think it was pretty clear.
He's dead.
Yeah.
There's the part where she's at the cross.
Yeah, and I mean, he gets like it's over.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. This guy we know and love is now gone.
He's dead in the ground. He's dead. Right. So, yeah, I mean.
So your question, so you saying, you're going to avoid it. I'm of the, I think I would see it just because movie theaters are open. So I think it's just part emotion and part curiosity in the fact that it is a new horror film in theaters.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. Now, let me pose this question to you because this one came out straight to Netflix around the same time. No, a little after A Quiet Place came out. It almost was like too close. You know how there's always those movies where it's like two come out that are like, like Armageddon and Deep Impact came out in the same summer.
Right.
Dante's Peak and Volcano.
Yep.
So for A Quiet Place, there's A Quiet Place and we'll say Bird Box.
Oh, okay.
So what would you say is better, Bird Box or A Quiet Place?
I liked Quiet Place better.
Okay. Because one, you can't look. The other, you can't make a sound.
Right. Bird Box, and again, Quiet Place and Bird Box could have both suffered from the fact that they were built up quite a bit before I saw them. Mm-hmm. So, there is always a part of resistance inside you when multiple people keep telling you that something's good, and then you watch it and you're like, I don't see what the big deal was.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to give, Bird Box for me would be a 2 out of 5 boats.
I'd agree with you.
Because one, you figure out who's fine pretty quick. It's just like, well, what about blah blahs that you haven't seen the entire time? It doesn't matter. Blind people. So it's been out long enough. If you don't know that, then
go watch it.
Yeah, bunch of blind people in this community be like, what's going on? We can't see anything.
No, right. So I heard that Bird Box, the book that it was based on, was very good.
I'm sure.
Never read it.
The story is very clever. It's fine. It's fine. It has a great beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
It hangs on from there. But whereas Quiet Place ain't that. Quiet Place has a good climax too. It's just that finish is just.
It's hard to stick the landing.
It really is. So This is all just personal opinion. I know there's a lot of people who really liked it, but
Oh, Quiet Place, the first one. I mean, we're in the minority. 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 82% on Metacritic. So critics and fans and audiences loved A Quiet Place, and that's why we have
yeah, I
another
mean,
one.
everybody loved it. I mean, I wouldn't say that, like, I can't say that it's bad. I can just say
No.
that I didn't like it enough to want to see a sequel.
Right.
So this is like one of those ones when we talked about scoring runs in between that fine line of a 2 and a 3.
Ah, okay.
Like maybe it gets a 3 because it's so well made. But I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it again and then be like, oh, well, maybe I want to. I can't see myself wanting to see a sequel.
The acting, the sound, the direction. John Krasinski was the director of that film.
It's a great job. Everything he does is great.
Yeah, it was solid. So
But when you have the same ending as Signs, what are you doing?
Right. You're right. So if we're asked to grade A Quiet Place, the first one, I don't know. It would either be a 2 or a 3. It definitely wouldn't be a 1 or a 0. There's no way.
Yeah. No, not at all.
And it wouldn't cross 3 for me just because of the story.
Because what did they finish it off with? They just overload it with the stereo or radio frequency.
Is that where the girl who was deaf, did they put the loud sound?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up the
yeah, that's
last
what it
part.
was. It's like they just like did that super high frequency and then beat it.
Yeah, Reagan takes
You know.
refuge at a top creature.
Hey, this thing that we could have been using the entire time easily defeats them.
right.
You know?
The creature returns, attacking and wounding Lee while Marcus and Reagan hide in a pickup truck. All right, so this is going to be the end of A Quiet Place Part 1, everybody. So if you really don't want to know and you haven't seen it yet, go do it now.
You should have seen it by now.
Okay. The creature returns, attacking and wounding Lee while Marcus and Reagan hide in a pickup truck. After seeing his father wounded, Marcus shouts impulsively, attracting the creature to the truck. Lee signs to Reagan that he loves her and always has, before yelling to draw the creature away from his children. The creature, hearing Lee's voice, attacks and kills him. Reagan and Marcus roll the truck down a hill to escape and reunite with Evelyn and the baby at the farmhouse. The four retreat to the house's basement. When the creature returns, Reagan, who realizes that the sound made by the implant distresses the creature because she has the cochlear implant, switches the device back on and places it on a nearby microphone, amplifying the feedback. Painfully disoriented, the creature exposes his flesh beneath its armored head, allowing Evelyn to fatally shoot it with a shotgun. The family views a CCTV monitor showing two creatures attracted by the noise of the shotgun blast approaching the house. With their newly acquired knowledge of the creature's weakness, the member of the family arm themselves and prepare to fight back.
And take them down.
Yeah. So the dad dies. John dies. Sorry, John. But the family does survive, and yeah, she
That's
puts
right.
that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So we
There you
know
go.
going into this, now walking this out a little bit further, this could go into territory that I don't like if we're just going to walk this out a little bit further for the plot in A Quiet Place Part 2.
These creatures everywhere I go. Took my wife, took my kids. Gonna be a lot of those conversations.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Everybody's going to be sharing their stories. But now thinking about it, yes, so now we're seeing, at least it's alluded to in the trailer, we're going to see people that are a part of this world, but also another problem is going to be we now know the creatures have a weakness, so now is it going to turn into we know how to expose them and have them drop their armor and shoot them?
Yeah, 100%.
So now they're just going to be fighting the creatures?
They're going to find a community of people. She'll share that knowledge, and they'll put together, and they'll start fighting them off.
Okay.
And if this one does well, there'll be a Quiet Place Part 3 where they just keep that going, probably. Who freaking knows?
All right.
Actually, you know what? What if this was an idea for future episodes now? I'm thinking about it. What if we made like a checklist, like a game of like horror movie cliches, and we have people fill them out, and then when we watch it, we'll check it out, and winner, whoever picks the most wins the prize.
Oh, okay. Like if that movie's going to have it in there?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, like, for this one, like, even like just the conversation, it's like, it was my son's 6th birthday party. We didn't know it was happening. A balloon popped, and then they were all there. They swarmed us. I lost everybody that day.
Right.
Yes. One of those lines.
So how many of those stories, how many of those moments?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. There's nothing else we can do. If you want to live, you be quiet in a place.
It's funny because it's going to happen.
Well,
and then the like someone else putting their finger on someone else's lips, that's going to happen, I think.
That that happens in the first one a few times, like nonstop. So there'll be plenty of that. Or like, the old, like, I'm about to, shriek, so someone else's hand goes over their mouth. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting because the baby will be on the road.
Yep.
But they got him or her sealed up pretty good.
So if you gain anything from this episode, Joe, will you see it? You said...
I don't plan on it unless we get like enough feedback where it's like, hey, let's use this one as the first one for this game that I'm thinking of.
Okay. And I would like to see it. If time allows, I will see it. If it does not, then it's not at the top of my priority list. So I guess just to balance the yin and the yang here, you're definitely not going to see it in theaters.
I don't think so.
Might see it in theaters.
Yeah. Your wife want to see it?
I don't know. She felt somewhat the same about the first Quiet Place because she was actually really, really excited to see Quiet Place.
The first one, yeah. I mean, I think everybody was.
Yeah.
I mean, it had the hype. I guess it lived up to the hype. Just, I don't know. I mean, it was... I just didn't think it was right for me.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I wouldn't stop someone else from... saying it's like, well, I liked it, and I really want to see the second one. I mean, that's why I was like, hey, let's just talk about it for this episode.
Yeah, it's exciting. Again, it shows that we are coming back to some horror normalcy. This is a big box release. I'm fine with big box
till
releases.
The fall.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah,
huge year for horror.
Yep, and we got the oh my gosh, we got The Conjuring before that. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like Spiral, Quiet Place Part 2. The Conjuring.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, at some point, Candyman, Halloween Kills. It's going to be a year, man.
It's a huge year. So I guess, what next episodes might be, we might do some of the Conjuring stuff.
Yeah, and we'll try and lay that out. I haven't decided yet because there are plenty of YouTube videos that say, here's the story and here's what order you should watch them in. Here's the best and the worst, that kind of thing. So we got to think of something creative for The Conjuring if we're going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I don't know. We'll come up with something. I was either thinking that of actually doing a deep dig into Ed and Lorraine. Talking more directly about them than the movie itself.
Maybe extracting the cases they're loosely based on?
Exactly, especially this one, because this one's probably one of the bigger, this is based on a true story where someone was actually found not guilty due to demonic possession. Or he was acquitted due to,
So there's some interesting nuggets I think we can get into when we talk about The Conjuring.
Yeah, and then like even if we don't do that, maybe we could talk about like the courtroom horror, which is like like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, stuff like that. There's some goodies out there.
Yes,
but all leading up to our 1 year anniversary that we're pretty hyped for. 1 year anniversary. I can't believe that's already here. Feels like we've been doing it longer.
I know. Well, because when we started, it was the good thing about when we started. I know that I tell the stories of how this podcast originated quite frequently.
Yeah.
But it's fun to relive and think about. Back then, we were in a situation where things were a little less clear. And we said, okay, well, if this is what people are doing, if this is how people are finding ways to get by through this, so then we're like, all right, well, why don't we bring back what we used to do in the basement and just watch.
Have some food and watch a movie.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
Neither you nor I saw parts. Well, we didn't. We never saw Phantasm Ravager, and we hadn't seen
3. Yeah.
So it's just like, well, here's the perfect opportunity. So we watched all 5.
Speaking of which, that's what I wanted to do. That reminded me, there was something in my back of my head that I forgot to write down that I was going to try and do that was like going to say we should try and do for the 1 year, which was, what's his face? Reggie is officially calling it retired, even though, I mean, this is pretty much the only movies he's really been in. But he's like doing something where he's like, done. So it's like maybe for our 1 year, even if we just like got to talk with Reggie.
Okay, reach out to Reggie Bannister.
It all started with Phantasm, so.
It did all start. And then your poll with the Sleepaway Camp. And
That's right, yeah, the Sleepaway Camp.
But that ended up being the first episode.
Yeah, which, was great for summer. Hopefully we can get a little more, some more group type events where we can, do some movie screenings and hopefully link up with those Mahoning Valley guys, but they've taken off more than...
I was going to say.
More than, we've become small to them, whereas if we had started this, 2 years prior, we would have been on the ground floor.
But you bring up a good point, though. So, like, even though we started with Sleepaway Camp, which is what the people wanted, at the same time, when you and I were watching, when we decided to watch the Phantasm films, it's like, you know what? You said it, like, now's the time to do the podcast. Like, this is great. Just us watching the film, bantering back and forth.
There's nothing really going on.
Right.
We're just talking, like, we're just having the way we normally talk when we're, whether we're watching these things or whatever, So, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yep.
And then before we sign off or anything.
Yes.
I wanted to, because we were talking about this, I think since this since the pod started, especially like talking about sequels, I definitely come off as one of those people who will never say the sequel's better than the first one or as good, or I'm like, it's hit me. But I'm trying to think if there was anything, like, is there anything that comes to mind where there is a movie you saw and there was a sequel that you had, weren't even that excited for, or just saw it just to see it, and then it really surprised you how good it was?
If you have one in mind, you give yours. If you have one in mind,
no, I have the perfect one that I say is one of the worst movies of all time, where I was actually excited for a sequel and it was god awful, and that's The Ring 2, and I will never let it down. I'll say it over and over again. If you see me on the stream, you say, "Hey Joe, do you like The Ring 2?" Ask me, and I'll just see how fast I say no.
Okay.
Good God, that place, that theater, emptied.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not... Well, The Ring won, and I think we should talk about The Ring at some point.
For sure.
It was such a good, scary PG-13 film, made very well, acted very well, very atmospheric.
Yeah, it really launched the Japanese horror remakes in America. I mean,
big time. Mm-hmm. So when you ask, is there a sequel that I just saw that I loved or liked more?
One that you were just like, this doesn't need to be done, and then you see it, and you're just like, you know what, I don't hate that.
I'll leave you in suspense. We have to probably wait till next episode. I need some time to think about that.
Fair enough. I would say The Grudge 2 for me.
Okay.
Which I didn't think was as bad as I thought it was going to be. It turned out to be kind of enjoyable.
Yes.
The Grudge one, the Grudge monster really actually scares the balls out of me for some reason. That one got me good.
To this day, because I remember I was in my freshman year of college working late on Sunday nights at the computer lab. Mm-hmm. I was terrified.
If it wasn't for everyone, their mom and their mom's second cousin, Jim, doing the impersonation of the... then it probably would have haunted me a little longer, but just because everybody was doing it, it was like that kind of killed the effect.
Sure.
So, yeah, and then, when we were talking the Saw series, everybody was like, yeah, Saw 2, like, surprise. I mean, to be fair, Saw 2 is the one that launched it into being a franchise. Probably not the first one was fine, but it's the second one that has to really do well.
Yeah.
For it to grow. I don't think Scream counts because I was so young when those were coming out that I was just going to like it no matter what.
Yeah, and the thing is with Scream 4, because the problem is I always thought that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Scream 4. Turns out the horror community loves Scream 4 too. Mm-hmm. So that would be one of those sequels that I can't say going in I was just like, oh, this doesn't need to be made.
Is 5 this year too?
5 is this year.
So look at that. Look at this year with horror movies. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Scream 5.
Wow.
I guess you could say a sequel that I was skeptical of and ended up really liking. There is one that does come to mind.
That's why I kept talking.
The 2013 Evil Dead.
Well, does that count as a sequel or a remake?
I don't know. I guess it's up to you and the listeners.
I'm going to say it's its own thing.
I think it is because I think
It's so different. It just takes the premise of The Evil Dead and out of respect doesn't use the characters' names.
Yep. And it takes a serious tone, not a more Sam Raimi-like tone, which he's the best at. He's he's Sam Raimi.
He does his thing, which is what's it, the Batista Army of Darkness movie that's out now? That's coming out where it's like him fighting zombies and it's like
I think that's Zack Snyder, Army of the Dead.
It is Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. That's it.
Yeah.
No. I'm not trying to make this a negative episode, but it's like it looks silly, and I think that Batista's not. I think I was like just saw some interview with him, and he's like talking about how he wants to like take on more serious roles and how he's done with like playing like Drax. And honestly, I think that's the only character I've ever seen him play really well.
Yeah.
The other movies I've seen him in, I don't know. One of those things where it's just like you're a name, so you get to be in movies, but doesn't mean that you really have any acting chops.
Okay.
And I did, I don't mean that as like an offensive thing. It's just as an observation that I see where it's just like I've seen him as Drax, and then I've seen him in one movie where it was like, Yikes. I saw it because I love Kamal Nanjiani, which was Stuber.
Yeah, I don't.
It wasn't good. Don't bother.
Who's Drax? Is that the Guardians of the
Guardians
Galaxy
of the
guy?
Galaxy, yeah.
Okay.
So no offense to him, but it's like him being in it just kind of makes me less inclined to see it because go take these things down.
Yeah.
Muscles and big guns.
Yeah.
Though Zack Snyder does know what he's doing when it comes to zombies. We already confirmed that when we talked about Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
So, yeah.
But The Evil Dead for me is the only thing that comes to mind after thinking about it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
If that's considered a sequel, I mean, I didn't think that when they said they were going to do an Evil Dead and Sam Raimi was going to produce it, and then I said, well, does that then leave it open to his influence, which I didn't think would have been good. But I ended up really enjoying Evil Dead, so much so that I could watch it again.
I think it's its own thing in the same vein that Wrong Turn was like its own thing. With the new Wrong Turn. Which is all gravy. That's one I do have to watch again because it's like I think I liked it, but then I think, I can't remember too much of it now because I only saw it when we saw it in theaters.
The 03?
Yeah. I think it was just the scene where all the blood rain is happening where I thought that was a bit much. I think that took away from it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to. We should make that a point. Maybe just like last year, maybe watch outside in the Poconos or something.
Yeah.
Maybe watch Wrong Turn and just see if it has that effect.
Yeah.
If it still stinks as much as we thought it did or remembered it being, or if there's newfound light.
Yeah. And I brought this up because there was a sequel I was trying to think of where it's just like, I actually like the second one better than the first one, and I can't remember what that was, so I'll have to keep thinking.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many movies you watch in a lifetime. And I like them, but it's like I don't even think I'm even on the level of someone like Nick Cush.
No, he puts, God bless him, Nick Cush from Movie Babble.
Yeah,
his site is just. I mean, if you're going to Red River Horror, I know that, and I will admit to you, the podcast listeners, there needs to be more content. There needs to be more reviews. There needs to be great stuff happening on the website. And
For sure.
With events coming back this fall, I think it will. But if you really want a movie site that includes horror movies, if you don't see a review on Red River Horror of the horror film you're interested in seeing, or maybe you want to go see A Quiet Place, but you want to hear a take on it first, or whatever, as long as it's spoiler free, Movie Babble is where to go. Because know that Nick has reviewed it.
Yep. And he does a great job with all that. And then even like our pal Dr. Halloween will drop movies where it's just like, what is that?
Right.
So, there's people out there who know things, and that's why we get them involved. And, and that's why I like talking about TV and movies, because that gives the opportunity to, want to check something out. So if you are out there and you can give me a convincing reason as to why I should see A Quiet Place Part 2, then please let me know, because you know where to find me, at Red River Joe on Twitter. You can always, email us, redriverhorror@gmail.com. If you know me personally, you know my personal contact info that doesn't get shared on this show.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe at some point we'll just set up some kind of like voicemail. Be like, leave us a message.
Yeah, we're coming up on a year, and I know we preface it a lot, but I think there's a lot of big things to come. I've learned a lot over the past 44 episodes.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm just looking forward to what's next, especially now. Conventions coming back, the fall.
The fall, baby.
And honestly, I'm sure somewhere somebody listening will say that their hometown does it the best. I don't know anywhere that has more attractions than the Mid-Atlantic and like specifically the greater Philadelphia region. I don't know anywhere in the country that has more haunted attractions to visit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, for our location, it's kind of unfair because it's conveniently between, New York and DC. So it's like, even if the stuff that's not in Philly, one of the big ones is, Terror Behind the Walls. But all those farms around here, between here and New Jersey and Central PA, I mean, that's convenient for, what's the one where it's like basically like between here and Baltimore?
That's Field of Screams.
Field of Screams. I mean, It's like perfectly located between multiple, these are more rural areas where they're just perfect, like 45-minute-hour drives from like major cities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a great thing for us.
Yeah. So, in closing, this was our not so quiet episode about whether we're going to see A Quiet Place Part 2 or not. I'm Eddie Cayazzo, founder of Red River Horror. Of course, check out redriverhorror.com. Hit me up at redriverhorror@gmail.com. Join us on Tony Todd Tuesday. Hashtag Tony Todd Tuesday and hashtag Women in Horror Wednesday, which we'll be starting up again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I got.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ed. Of course, I'm Joe Zakreski. You can find me on the Twitter at Red River Joe. And remember, kids, to keep traveling those channels of fear.